All right, welcome back. This is going to be a lot of fun today, and I've had a lot of amazing guests. And today, I think everybody's going to find my guest so interesting, and she's an amazing person. Her name is Angela Gargano, and she's a former college gymnast. How about a ninja warrior? How about that one? I don't come across very many ninja warriors, and obviously a keynote speaker and an expert in fitness and training and nutrition. And so anyway, welcome in, Angela. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, you're welcome. And let's start off by this one here. And I'm curious of this, and I think the listeners will be as well. But how does one become a ninja warrior? That's the first question in the top of mind. How do you become a ninja warrior?
Yeah, I get that question all the time. And what's so fascinating about my personal story is I accidentally got on American Ninja Warrior. It wasn't even like on my radar, wasn't even something that I was even trying to pursue. But my friend was watching the TV show every single night. I forget what night it would come on, and she had said that she wanted to submit an application to be on the show, and I was actually helping her make hers. So the application, you have to make a video application for you to get on the show about your life and then what you are able to do athletically. And as I was making the video with her, I had a friend who was helping us make it, and he was like, I think you should try out for this too. Like, you were a gymnast, like you used to be on the bars swinging around, like you could do this. But I really didn't want to step on my friend's toes because this was her thing. This is what she was trying to do. But after some convincing, he just kept saying, like, Angela, I think you should do it. I think you should do it. I put together a quick video with him, and I wound up accidentally getting a call months later, not even being ready to ninja, not even knowing what ninja even was. So it was definitely very interesting getting on the show.
And, it's interesting, too, Angela, and I've kind of, gotten to know you a little bit through doing a lot of reading, and I have enjoyed your story. And, for those that aren't familiar kind of with your story, as a ninja warrior, national television, you're competing, and you were used to competing, obviously, from being a gymnast in college. But talk a little bit about the setback you had and with your injury, and just a little bit of the emotion, and bring us up to speed on what that was like for you after, being selected, and you're kind of competing and probably got a great chance to win it, and all of a sudden, boom, something happens. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So I wound up getting on the show that first time, not even knowing anything about ninja or how to ninja. And I fell in love with the community. I fell in love with the sport. And I told myself, I'm coming back and I'm going to be a top female. Like, I was determined that this was something that I was going to do. And what's wild is I submitted to be on the show 2 more seasons after that, and I didn't get selected to be on the show at all. So that was really frustrating and really annoying. So I had to continue to keep figuring out, what did I do to get on the show the first time? Like, now I'm ready. Like, now I can do this. And then finally, I figured out the formula of how to put together this video to get on the show. I was training like crazy every single week, training and even to other local ninja competitions. And then I finally get on the show so ready, so strong, so confident. And I start getting on this course, and I'm going through each obstacle, and I'm just crushing them. I'm crushing through it. I remember looking at my coach in the audience, and he's just like, you got this. And I'm like, wait, I really do feel like I have this. And then I finally get to the final obstacle that I was supposed to complete in order to be a top female. And I'm swinging side to side. I catch one obstacle, I catch the next. And then all of a sudden when I dismounted, I'm like, wait, I did it. Like, I knew that I did it. And I just completely collapsed, and I blacked out right on the stage in front of everybody. And it was really devastating because I was so strong and so confident. I literally did everything right. Everything I was supposed to do, I did. And it was just so shocking that within 1 second, everything that you worked for could just go away in a second. And it was devastating. I didn't really know what to think at first. I think I was in shock mostly at first. I didn't really want to believe that I even had a major injury. And then once I got the confirmation that it was an ACL tear, the doctors are right there, like, your career's over, or they're like, there's no way you're gonna be able to get back. And then all those thoughts in your head and those emotions of like, will I ever be able to come back? Will I ever be able to get this strong again? I've already put so much work into it. And also these thoughts of, being an athlete was my identity. Everything was being an athlete, was, doing all these different pieces. So Yeah, I definitely was, really having an identity crisis at the same exact time as going through all these different emotions of, what am I going to do now? Because I literally can't walk. I can't do the stuff that I was doing before. I own a gym at the time. Like, I'm like, how am I going to coach people? I can't even walk. So definitely so many emotions that came with just going from really strong to really weak, and something that was so unexpected. It was a challenge that I never thought was even going to happen.
What was your first, because I've coached, college basketball for over 30 years, and I've had some players, that had some really devastating injuries. But for you, you're competing at this high level. You've trained so hard. You've put all this energy and effort, and you're focused, you're ready, but right when it happens, Angela, and I've been around basketball players, and a lot of people handle adversity in a lot of different ways. It's a tricky thing, but for you, right at that moment, walk me through a little bit about maybe what was going through your mind, because it had to be just mentally kind of devastating right at the beginning. So what was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind was definitely like, I can't believe that I dropped the ball on this. I can't believe that I was going to literally be a top 5 female, and now I'm completely like, that's it. Like, I'm not. I didn't make it. I didn't do it. I did fail. I just kept thinking all those different things in my mind. And it was hard also because, and I'm sure you've seen this from being athletics as well, is when you are such a strong, powerful leader, athlete, you also don't want anyone else around you to see it. You don't want anyone else to know that you're feeling that way. So I was kind of putting on this face and this front in front of everybody that I was fine. It's kind of like, I always say this when I do my keynote, but if you ever had a girlfriend, or if you're married and they're like, I'm fine, and you're like, that means you're not fine. That means you're not fine. And I was not fine. So I was definitely trying to put this front on and try and be really strong in front of everybody. But internally, I was just destroyed. I just felt like completely awful. And I wasn't really allowing myself to even feel those feelings at first, because I wanted to resist. I was definitely resisting those feelings. And what I started to realize is that you can't really resist. You can't fight it. You have to just feel it. You have to just feel whatever you're feeling, and knowing that that's okay, because as a human, we're going to have those feelings of feeling disappointed. We're going to have those feelings of feeling maybe a little worthless sometimes from something. So allowing yourself to have those feelings was really important to me, and something that I never really experienced before, because everything else I was doing, I was always kind of having a front or a face on for just being strong all the time. So it definitely was a huge lesson in that it's okay if you're not feeling okay. But what a mentor had said to me that really helped me a ton, and I say this in my keynote as well, was she's like, it's cool. I see, like, you're not fine. Like, that's cool. She's like, I want you to feel all those things, but then we need to put like a deadline on it. Like, you can't be stuck here forever, right? Let's put a deadline, and this is for anybody listening to, it may not be an injury. Maybe it's like just had a bad day or a bad meeting. Go throw yourself like a 5-minute pity party. Feel all the feelings, be frustrated about it, but then let's get back in the game, So I think that was really helpful, because she gave me that permission I needed to feel all the suck that I was feeling.
Angela, I've had so many guests on, and then I have myself. When you're coaching at a high level, and either you've been fired or things happen. It's just adversity of life. That's part of it. Or for you, it was a devastating injury. When you were kind of at the peak moment, and I've talked to a lot of people and coaches and athletes and Hall of Famers, and they've all had these moments, kind of like you did, where for the brief second or for a day or two, and I can remember for me, I got fired. I went home and crawled on my bed and it got in a fetal position. Like I didn't, but then your mind starts to work then, like, okay, I'm going to sit here and pout for a little bit, but then I got to get going again. I got to get back up and go. So for you, talk about that. Okay, now you've recognized it. You got a punch in the gut really hard. It was devastating at the time. But like you said with your mentors, at some point you picked yourself back up and said, let's go. So talk about that mental kind of transformation because we all go through them and they're not easy. Adversity is hard, but how did you deal, or how long, or how did you deal with getting yourself back up to get going?
Yeah, and it's so interesting when I tell you this story all the time. It sounds like it was like an instant thing when I talked about it, but I was stuck in this rut. I was like stuck for months. Like, this was months of me sitting there having thoughts in my brain. I mean, there was one point where, and I'm sure people have had this before with themselves as well, where I was like, do I even need to live anymore? Like it was that bad. Like I would be going home and be like, do I even matter? Is anyone even gonna care about me now because of my injury and that I can't do anything? But then that's when that awareness kind of came in. That's when she said, hey, have your pity party, and then like, let's get back in the game. And the awareness around these thoughts and realizing, wait, I'm having these thoughts, which means that I was missing something while I was competing. There was something that I was missing that didn't really have me ready for something like this, right? So what can I learn from it? So the next piece I always go, and what I call it when I go through my keynote is my right framework. Because I started asking myself, like, what if it all goes right? And I was like, what does even right look like for me? Because I honestly didn't even know. And the next piece that we went through was I really was trying to identify what it is that I actually could control right now. Because I couldn't go back and change the fact that I hurt my knee. Like, I heard it. That's it. You heard it. That's all right. Okay, cool. What can I actually control? And what I started to realize when I started to get unstuck was I was ignoring my mindset. I wasn't doing really anything with my mindset. I was just like throwing big ninja moves and, not actually taking a moment to reflect on even how I was feeling mentally. So that was a huge opportunity that I had right now, because I couldn't do some of the athletic stuff. Okay, cool. What can I do? Cool. I can work on my mindset, which is something I definitely need to work on, right? I could also work on all the other areas of my body that weren't injured, right? Maybe my core, my upper body I could still work on, and realizing that I didn't have a strong foundation, not only mentally, but a strong foundation in my core. Like I said, I was always just throwing these big moves and these big elaborate things. But if you don't have a strong foundation in a house, everything's going to crumble, right? So it really was me just kind of working through this in my mind and realizing, okay, like there's something that I can control here. So I'm going to lean into that instead.
You make such a great point, Angela, and I love your story, by the way. I just absolutely love it. But, I think, too, when especially injuries or difficult times, it comes back to, and this sounds real simple. I'm not trying to make it sound simple, but it kind of is. But mentally, then, your mind is either going to take you kind of in a rabbit hole, or your mind is going to kind of get you out of it, And so for you, I'm sure you began to learn how important your mindset was of anything, even just, you got the brace on for a long time, and then there came a point for you took that thing off, the brace was off, but the mental side of overcoming injuries, because what happens too so many times, especially young people nowadays, I think we've gone through some generational things, but I'm not sure mentally sometimes how tough some young people are. And in life, it just comes down to your mental toughness. And for you displayed it. You did it. You showed that. And but talk a little bit about that mental part of the game for you. Once you're hurt, and then you're coming out of it. How important is that for you?
Oh, it was literally so important. And it was honestly, like, it sounds crazy when I say it now, and I would never, if someone told me this when I was injured, I would be like, get out of here. It was exactly what I needed. Like, I needed to learn how to get out of that. I really needed to go through that journey to really become the person I am today, to become stronger. And it's now helped me for mental toughness in anything. Because once you get through it once, like, you're going to be able to now go back and be like, oh, I've gotten through hard things. I can get through this again. Like, there's a repeatable way to get through it. It's going to still not feel great, obviously, right? But now that whatever comes at you, you're going to be able to handle it. And so I feel like that was a huge piece in coming out of this mental part. But yeah, first I started off with some very simple things, if you want to think more about like tactics. And it was stuff that I was really just like, this is so dumb. Like, why do people do that? Like, blah. And the first piece was just honestly sitting with myself and my thoughts and just working on meditation. And again, it sounds really silly and stupid. And then I was writing out gratitude every day. Like, I'm grateful for. And I'm telling you, like, at this point when I was so low, I was like, what do I have to lose? Like, why don't I just try it? Because I mean, at this point, I'm so low, like, it's not going to hurt me anymore to just try these tactics that I was, finding online to go through. So I started doing meditation. I started writing out things I was grateful for, and then coming back to my framework of writing, what if it all goes right? And really asking myself, okay, let's say things do go my way now, like, do I even have a picture in my mind of what that even is? And when I first started writing, I had no idea. I had no idea what going right now was after that. Before, going right was you're going to get on Ninja Warrior, you're going to crush the show, and you're going to be a top female. Like that was going right to me. But I'm like, now maybe with what with where my injury is at, what could it be? And every single day I would start to get a little bit more clear on that. I'd start to understand how it would feel or what I could do. And after doing that, and it didn't happen overnight. This is not like you write 3 gratitudes and you meditate once and everything's good. This is like after a little bit of time of doing it consistently, I started to mentally be like, wow, my brain is definitely getting rewired to be able to take anything that comes my way and be like, okay, cool. Like, let's shift the perspective and turn this into an opportunity.
You know, Angela, your answers, I love this conversation, but I think too, when people have adversity, at least I have found this, and it was for me too, because, again, I've had a bunch in my life, but I think there's a period where you're like, okay, I can do this all by myself. And the reality is a lot of times we need to bring people in, the people that we love or trust, that they have your best interest at heart. And then, we all have kind of that mentors or a team of people or maybe just one person. Did you have that as well? Or it was kind of the Lone Ranger thing? I'm just doing this on my own. Or did you have some people that kind of helped you along the way as you're kind of getting yourself back up and getting going again?
Yeah, so I honestly felt like a Lone Ranger. You start to realize that people who are really great in your life, and then you also start to realize people who maybe just need to go and like they're not a good fit. But what's interesting is I definitely had people who were trying to tell me and trying to help me through it, but I was in such a bad mental state that I was just like, I had one friend who I talk about all the time, and she's been along with me with all my journey, and she was telling me, Angela, this is such an opportunity for you. Wow, like you're gonna have this amazing comeback story. And I remember just being like, get out of here. Like, leave me alone. Like, I was so frustrated. We literally weren't friends for a little while because of it. And then, but she kept trying to like come back and tell me. And I'm so grateful for having someone like that in my life. And it's so interesting. We typically always have at least 1 or 2 people in our life who can see so much like more what you have in yourself than you do at the time, right? And I do think it's really, really important to surround yourself with people like that, and just to have somebody who's always like checking in on you. It's not necessarily all the time. People don't have that sometimes, but I think that there is always someone, I think, around who will be there to help lift you up. So I luckily had a few friends, but yeah, I was ignoring them at first until I finally was ready to get out of it mentally, because you do mentally need to get out of it yourself, which is also really important. But you don't need to do it alone. And that's exactly now that I've been through it, now that's like really my whole life is around this now. It's around how can I empower people and help them come out of challenges, because I was so stuck, and I don't want people to have to go through it alone. I don't want them to have to feel like they're going to be stuck forever.
Did you ever have, Angela, because when I speak, and similar to you, as a keynote speaker, and I get on stage, and my talk is all built around what I call the GID approach. It's a get it done mentality in your mind. But for you, because I've always felt like there are these moments that we can look back and say, okay, that was one of those right there. That was a kind of a GID moment. But like for you, here you are, you're a former gymnast, you're a phenomenal athlete, you're training, you've been on the Ninja Warriors. Were there some moments all of a sudden for you, like as you're coming back, and all of a sudden you got to jump and you got to land on that knee? You got to get past these, maybe not fears, but they're concerns, and they're there. And I've had players get hurt. It takes them sometimes a long time. But for you, those GID moments, like as you're coming back, did you have some of those? Like, okay, right now in my mind, I have got to overcome this hurdle right now. Did you have some of those?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially coming back when you're saying, like, I'm just going back and reflecting back when I was learning how to re-land again, because absolutely that is a mental game after that. Again, it has nothing to do with, I was absolutely training, doing the physical therapy, doing the personal training, strengthening my core. But yeah, when you get back up on that obstacle, the same obstacle you tore your ACL on, you're obviously going to have all these mental blocks and all these doubts. Can I actually do this? So the way that I personally was able to get out of it, and I'm very grateful for having my experience being a gymnast, because I've had, situations in gymnastics before with how to lead up to coming back from a skill or getting over a skill. So I broke down everything that I needed to do into little bitty pieces. And every single week I would gradually get myself a little bit more confident on landing on the knee. So I wasn't just gonna I didn't just hop back on the obstacle and go do it, because that would be scary, right? So I started off with jumping off a small box. And then I would do it again. And then I would make the box a little bit higher. And then, okay, cool. Now, the obstacle I tore my ACL was a lateral obstacle. So it was swinging side to side. Okay, cool. Now I'm just going to be on the floor and I'm just going to start to jump laterally and get a little bit better at that. And I slowly, step by step, gradually built myself up until I started to finally feel confident again. And if anything, when I was able to push past that, it gave me so much more awareness of my body. I wasn't really aware. I was just one of those people who, I was training hard, but I was just flinging myself around. I was like, woohoo, wasn't really thinking about landings and stuff like that. But the mental game to come back, it was really tough. It took me a long time to actually even let go on the obstacle that I fell on. I would just swing, and I'd be like, nope, gotta come down. Swing. And then slowly but surely I did some little ones. I would have someone stand there and spot me, and I started to build that confidence up again. And the only way you're gonna get confident again from coming back from something like this is by moving. It is by taking action. When you are sitting still and you're not doing or trying or anything, you're not gonna get back and be confident again. So just getting back up and gradually doing it piece by piece was, I definitely think, key. And I think that could work for anything, not just athletics.
Where do you think, Angela, for you, maybe growing up or maybe as a college athlete, but we all kind of, learn along the way. There are people that have helped us, but the confidence to go for it. Because I think so many times, and I've been asked this many times, I have 5 children, they're adults now, but, I used to say, if I could give my kids one attribute, and I want them to be kind and great people and, all those things, great characteristics, but one of them to me was I want them to be confident. I want them to go for it. I don't ever want them to be hesitant to say, I'm just kind of afraid. I'm not going to take that chance. But for you, where did that all come from? Because, and I've learned a lot about you now. You've been on the cover of a ton of magazines. You've accomplished so much, and now you're on stage and you're sharing your story with so many people in different audiences. But that confidence to go for it, that's something you have. And where do you think that came from?
That's so interesting. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to think about where my confidence came from. I think the one personal thing is definitely that for some reason, and maybe you feel the same with this, I know I'm meant for more. There's just something that's inside of me that's been ingrained. I don't know where it came from, but I know that I'm meant to do more. I know I'm meant to impact more. But there's definitely been so many moments where I've been frozen and I wasn't confident. I wasn't confident that I was going to be able to do this. But I think there's a couple of things that drove me. Definitely different mentors. Luckily I had these different mentors that came in my life. In gymnastics, it was my coach Miguel. I remember him saying, hey, I really want to do college gymnastics, but my parents can't afford for me to go to gymnastics 5 days a week, so I don't really see how it's going to be possible. And I remember him just being like, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's do it in 3 days a week. And there was just something about them having this confidence in me that I didn't have in myself it sparked me. It sparked me to be like, okay, cool. All right. This person believes in me so much. I'm going to go for it. Why not? So I was really grateful for that. For fitness competitions, I had a mentor that came into my life, Kathy Savage. She's absolutely amazing. I remember sitting in her office being like, I don't know anything about this fitness competition thing. And she looked at me and she's like, I'm going to sponsor you and we're going to do these fitness comps. And I was like, I don't understand why. You don't know who I am? What if I don't show up? What if I'm not, you don't know anything? She's like, no, I see it. I just see it in you. And I was shocked, So it's those people who have this insane confidence in you that after a while you really start to believe it. Another thing that I think really helped my confidence, but this sounds kind of completely counterintuitive, maybe it doesn't make sense, but I had a lot of people telling me that I couldn't do things. And they were like, oh, for the magazine cover, I had an agency who was like, you're literally too manly and too muscular to be on a fitness magazine. So maybe you should he said that. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to show you now. Cause
Right.
So I feel like I've had both different pieces, but yeah, definitely in every piece of my life, I feel like I've had that one person or that one mentor. And I think that's why that's what I aspire to be for so many people now, because the fact that I had that, I want others to feel exactly the same way that I felt from that mentor, because now I really do see potential in people that maybe they don't see in themselves. And that's such a powerful thing and powerful support to have.
Angela, when I watch clips of you on stage as a keynote speaker, and you've got such an amazing story to tell, and a little bit similar, when I'm on stage as well and talking. But one thing I've noticed about you when I'm watching you, it appears, and I think this is true because as I get to know you, but you're very genuine, and my goal is to help people. We can all make money and do all these kind of things, but your motive is pure and you can see it. And so for you, talk about that. You're on stage, you've got this audience of people out there, and people are going through all kind of stuff in their lives that we don't even know about half the time. But you do such a good job of resonating because I think you're very authentic. Do you feel that way about yourself as you're on stage?
Absolutely. And I get that from so many people. They're like, wow, you're really the most authentic person. You could just tell that you truly, genuinely care. And I do. And for me, being on stage, I love being on stage. I've always been a performer. That's just always been what I love to do. But it's so powerful now knowing that being on a stage, I can impact so many lives at once. And I think it's so fascinating, and I've learned this throughout the years of just being, online, and I have a huge Instagram following. There's people who aren't gonna tell you that you changed their lives. But there's people who are, right? And I get a lot of messages, and I just wonder, for every one person who's messaging me saying, wow, that one piece really impacted my life and helped me get up out of bed yesterday, I realize that there's probably so many more who maybe didn't come up to me after, who it was able to help them get out of a really hard time. And that's what I live for. That's the stuff that really, really empowers me, because if I can help one person, then they're going to be able to help somebody else. Then they're going to be able to help somebody else. And it's just this huge impact that's going to spread around to everybody. And yeah, I feel like I definitely, and again, I don't know if you feel the same, but there's just something inside me that knows that this is what I'm born on this earth to do. It's to help other people, which I think is really, really powerful. But yeah, I think also people like that with the authenticity is that I'm definitely real with people. I'm not making up this story. The stories that I'm going through, I've truly lived. The methodology that I use, I literally use it. I still use it every day. If you go in my journal, every day, what if it goes right? Every day, I'm living it. It's really helped me get through it. So if I can share that with others, I feel like it's so powerful. But yeah, definitely truly want to help as many people as I can.
Talk a little bit about your theme there. What if everything goes right? Because you talk to a lot of people, and rarely do you hear that. Rarely do you hear somebody saying, I wonder what happens if everything does go right, because sometimes our mind will play tricks in that everything's going to go wrong, or if this goes wrong, I have to overcome it. So talk about a little bit of that, because that's kind of a theme for you, and that, what if it goes right, and talk a little bit about that and give me a little deeper dive into that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, even with my knee, I realized that I didn't have a picture of what even going right looked like, because so often we think about the worst case scenario, and that's really our mind protecting us, right? Because we're in fight or flight. When we're going through something hard, we're in fight or flight, and our brain is like, what can we do to protect you? Okay, I'm going to tell you about some more worst case scenarios that might happen for you to protect you, to either have you stay frozen or have you feel really safe and have you stay in whatever your comfort zone is. But the only way you're going to grow, and the only way you're going to, get to the next level is to go through it, is to lean into whatever that discomfort is. And our brain is telling us not to do that. So a way to I guess you can call it kind of like a hack. The hack is okay, let's sit down instead and ask yourself, what if it all goes right? What does it look like? And like I said, getting really detailed on what that means. And that means that the first day you write that down, you may not know what it is really, at all. It may be very complex. You might have one maybe idea, and then the next day, as you start to imagine a little bit more, your brain starts to get rewired, and then you start to be like, oh, actually this could happen. Oh wait, look at this possibility. The other thing to think about as well, and I think what really helps with me with what if it all goes right, is what if it's already going right? That injury that I had, as much as I wanted to tell my friend, I'm like, this is going wrong, everything's going terribly, I'm failing and whatever. But what if that's exactly what you needed? What if that's exactly what you needed? And it was. Now that I zoom out, I see it. That injury, it was exactly what I needed to get myself to the next level. It was exactly what I needed to push myself to here and there. So yeah, I feel like we definitely put ourselves in our worst case scenario thinking, especially when a huge challenge comes in. But it's so easy to think in your head, and to like that's why I like the framework I've created. I feel like it's a simple, like you said, it's not that complicated. It's pretty simple. It's like, wait, hold on, things are going terribly, but what if it goes right? What if it's already going right? What does that look like? And it's very easy for you to start to shift your mind and to change into that mindset. And it truly does work. Like, it really does work when you start to do it for a while and things just start happening. And your perspective changes a ton when you start to keep doing it over and over again.
Do you find yourself too, Angela, where it's like a competition against yourself at times? You know, like even for me growing up, and I played a little bit in the NBA, but it's like I'm always competing against myself. I love to compete, but part of it is I'm going to win in this situation. I am going to win. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to get it done. And do you find that for you too, like every day, like part of that, just that you're competing against others, but truly we're usually just competing against ourselves and our potential in our mind that can convince us that it's not going to go right. So talk about that inner competition, because I know you're competitive. There's no doubt about it. But that's got to be a part of it as well. Just that desire to compete and to win in a situation, whatever that might be.
Yeah, if anything, it's you versus you all the time. It's definitely, a lot of times it's you versus your mind. It definitely absolutely is. And definitely, if you look at it more as, I'm here to, this life is a game, if you want to think of it like that. And actually, I've had a lot of business mentors talk about business like this, but I feel like it's absolutely with ourselves. But if you're ready, if you're in the game and you're ready to play it, like, you're ready to play it and you're in it to win it with your mindset, it's always you versus you. And you'll see any of the people who are really successful, they are never doing it to win. Like, yeah, they're trying to beat maybe other people with certain things, but really it's all about themselves. It's like, how can I really focus only on myself, stay in my lane, and focus on what I can control and what I can do for myself so that I can win this game, this game of life. It's literally what it is. And also, when you start to look at it like that, you start to look at it as a game of life, or you start to look at it as like a puzzle or whatever, it kind of makes it a little bit more fun, because that's all it is.
It is. And we do it every day, all day. And do you find this, Angela, and I'm a little bit older than you, obviously, but sometimes, and in my later years of coaching college athletes, there's so many distractions too. Social media is a big distraction for people, and comparing themselves to other people. But and I hate saying it's a generation that's gotten a little bit softer, but in my mind, it kind of has. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm one of them old guys that, now. But as you work with people and you help them along their way, as far as, their physical training, mental training, their nutrition, all the things that you do you find that, or am I just kind of missing that with the younger generation? And be honest on that one now, because I know I'm a little older, and but I'm interested in your thought on that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm feeling, my generation that I work with, so I typically work with women 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and the specific thing that I work on for fitness is I help them get their first pull-up. It's like the one thing that I do. Like, I do it very well. I can get them their pull-up in a couple weeks. Yeah, it's a really powerful mindset tool to get past doing a pull-up and all sorts of stuff. But I don't know. I don't feel like, when I think about the younger generation, because I've had a couple of the women who were on my college team reach out to me, because one of the girls tore her ACL or blew out an Achilles, and they said, hey, would you mind hopping on a call with her just to help her get through and stuff like that. I feel like she was actually pretty receptive to getting through the injury, so I feel like that was really good. I think the younger generation, what I find very different, which I actually think could be a positive thing, is that they are actually more in tune with making sure that they're taking care of themselves first. Whereas I feel like for our generation or older generations, it was always like work first or the goals first or whatever. But a lot of them actually are more like, no, wait, I come first. Like, I need to take care of my personal stuff first, which actually I think is a little bit better. So it might seem a little softer, but it's probably healthier at the end of the day, because it maybe is like more like from hustle culture to more like, okay, cool, wait, hold on, I'm going to come first, and then I'll do whatever task it is that I am. So definitely think it's just a different perspective, a different way of doing it. I don't think either way is necessarily wrong. I just think that we have maybe a little tougher skin when it comes to some of this stuff because we're just like hustle, we gotta figure it out and just go and like, I know it sounds bad, but like maybe forget about, how we're feeling at that moment and just go do it.
When you were really young, Angela, did you love to compete even when you were younger? Because a lot of times guys I coach, they've kind of had that mind, like a mindset of competition since they were younger. Maybe it's just innate. Maybe they're kind of born with it. Maybe somebody's brought it out. But for you, have you always been competitive in nature in that regard?
I think internally I've always been pretty competitive. Again, I maybe like don't say it, but I'll go do something, say I'm gonna do this for fun, and then when I'm in it, I'm like, never mind. Like I'm gonna win. Like I'm going all in for it. Yeah, and I also feel like, this is a little bit deeper, but I feel like I also started to get really competitive. I was doing a bunch of different sports, and then my parents were like, okay, you need to choose one sport. You can't do all of them. And I was obviously like, I'm gonna do gymnastics. And since my home life was a little wild, I feel like another reason, like that sport was my escape. So that sport of going into gymnastics and just focusing on my body and flipping around was my escape, my pause from anything that was going on in my home life, which I definitely feel like. So for me, I don't know if it was as so much as being competitive, as it was like this was my escape, and this was my time for me in my mind only, which I think was really powerful. And then sometimes I think with the competitiveness, it was just, I wanted to even show like my parents, like, check this out. Like I've been working hard. I'm a hard worker. I'm going to get it done. So I feel like some of the competitiveness maybe comes from some of my home life stuff.
When you get on stage, because you've taken all of your experiences and your ups and your downs and the good and the bad, and you kind of, bring it all together when you talk. But when you walk on that stage, and I've watched a lot of you on stage, and you have this energy level that's unbelievable, and you're doing push-ups on stage. You're all over the place, and you're a lot different than most people that do a keynote speech, but that energy that you have, just that, you can tell, right? When you walk out there, there's this boom, here she is, and you better buckle your seatbelt because she's going to bring it. So talk a little bit about that and the mindset you have, because I think it drives your points, it drives your message home to people, and again, there's somebody sitting out there in that audience that we have no idea what they're going through in life. We have no earthly idea. But boy, that energy that you have, I absolutely love it when I was, watching you on stage. But talk about that energy.
It's so funny. I've asked a few of my friends, because as I was going through, and you've done the same thing as well, like where I'm trying to like make my speaking website and just really articulate that, like what I do make people feel. Because you're saying it, and it's like, okay, we have the idea, but yeah, and someone said to me, your energy is just contagious, and I just want to put it in a bottle and take it home with me, which I think was really fascinating. I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, you want to put it in the bottle. But I think what's really cool about it as well is some people have also said to me, you're a little intimidating, but you're also approachable. It's like that approachable energy, but you're also like, you're not like you're going to show up and do what I asked you to do type of thing, which I think is really good and really nice. And I feel like it's really interesting because I feel like I have two sides to me. I have this side of me who is on the stage and like I'm bringing that energy, but I also have like a little more quiet, introverted side of me that is just like home, like hardworking, likes to just kind of be on the couch with my dog. But what I like to call it, and maybe you have it as well when you're competing or whatever, it's this alter ego, I swear. It's this alter ego that's like been within me. I actually put a name to it. You probably know this, but the show Xena, the warrior princess from back in the day, remember? So I'll call her Xena, and I just for some reason snap into this like other version of myself when I'm up there, and I'm able to kind of bring the energy through that, which I think is really, really fascinating. And then through my storytelling, I feel like that's where I really drive it home for a lot of people, because I'm up there to tell you a story, and I'm up there to tell you it in a way that is digestible and that you're actually gonna be able to take home with you, not like in this scientific-y big word type of thing or whatever. And I've done the same exact thing through my fitness coaching. I used to own a gym. I used to teach huge classes with like hundreds of people like every single week, and my biggest thing was I want to make sure that this is digestible and that they can leave here being able to do something. So I feel like I've gotten all those different pieces from just like different areas of my life. But definitely when I'm on stage, that energy is definitely my alter ego hopping up there.
So years and years ago, I had somebody say this to me, and I think most of my life I've followed this kind of a rule in my mind. There was one time, if I'm honest, I say I didn't follow it, and it didn't turn out well. But I had a friend say, always pursue passion over profit. And like when I see you go on stage and, you're walking up there and, another term I used to say when I coach basketball, practice is important. But I used to say when the popcorn is popping and, all of a sudden you walk into the arena and this is real, it's on, it's game time. And for you, it appears to me when you're on stage, you are pursuing passion. You're not pursuing this for profit. And I believe that's what kind of separates you a little bit from a lot of people that get on stage and talk. So maybe your thoughts on that, where you're pursuing the passion, it's coming out when you talk, and then your stories and experiences alongside of that just make it to where I think it's very impactful.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, it really definitely is the passion that comes first, that really should be what you're leading with for any keynote speaker. It's all about them. It's all about how you can impact their lives. How many people's lives can you actually impact? That is the main piece of it. At the end of the day, money isn't real. Like, it's not real technically, right? So I always like to think to myself, like, if money wasn't real, like, what are you going to be doing? Where's the passion coming from? So that's what I lead from. And typically what I found so much is when I am leading with the passion, like we're just talking in there, that stuff comes. Like the money, the whatever. And no, really, it really does. I mean, obviously there's strategic stuff as well, but if you're going to leave a passion, if you're going to do a good job, if you're going to show up great, because that energy that I'm bringing on stage that I truly care about, that is actually what then gets me the next gig. The next gig is, okay, look, we loved working with her and she showed up and she put 110% in there. I even had an agent the other day. I was on a call doing like a pre-call, and she said, wow, she's like, I've never witnessed you doing a call, but you've made this client feel so seen, and like she was the only one in the room. And I'm like, yeah, because when I was on that call with her, she was the only one in the room. That is the only thing I was focused on, because absolutely, like, my passion is how can I help you push past through whatever challenge it is that your clients are going through. And a lot of times she would say, like, through my story, I'm like, okay, we'll talk about my story later, because it's about me second. Like, that's not, my story is going to be a piece of what's going to help you. But at the end of the day, the people in the audience, those are the ones who are the heroes of their journey. We, as on stage, we are the guide. So what can we give them to guide them to whatever it is that they need to do in order to show up better? So yeah, definitely very passionate about what I'm doing. And then again, it's so much more than just being on a stage or just having, or getting money from it. Whether it's a room of like 10 people or a room of like 1,000 people, like that's the same exact energy that I'm going to bring every single time.
Well, maybe one day you're going to help me relearn how to do a pull-up, because I don't know that I've done one in a long time. So I may need your help. Yeah, I may need a little help one day.
Starting a revolution over here. Yeah, and it's the same thing with these women too. Like, I've now been able to teach. We're at thousands of women getting their pull-up, right? And it's the same thing there as well. Like the passion. But it's so cool, like even restarting a pull-up and stuff like that. It's like such an empowering thing to be able to do that. So yeah, absolutely. Let's get your pull-ups, and you're gonna be like, wow, you're gonna be on stage. You're like, Angela, check it out. I'm doing pull-ups on stage now.
So if somebody wants to find you, and because I'm a fan, so I want to help too. But if they would need to find you, to book you, or just learn about you and learn your stuff, and who is this girl and what does she do, and your kind of your message, help us figure out, or tell us where somebody goes to find out more about you and potentially book you as a speaker.
Yeah, so you can just go to my website, www.angelagargano.com. And then on there, you'll see speaking. For some reason, you want to do pull-ups. There's speaking, there's pull-ups, there's everything on there. And you can book me right there. But if you just want to like chat, if it's something in this episode like really resonating with you, you can follow me on Instagram. It's same thing, at Angela _Gargano. It's so funny. I don't know if you get this sometimes too. People are like, is it really you messaging me? I'm like, literally, it's me. I don't know who else would think it was my DMs. But you can message me on there and we can chat.
Well, I have enjoyed getting to know you, and I've enjoyed having you on, and I just want to wish you the best of luck, too. I think that you're going to have an amazing and unbelievable career as a speaker because, like I said, I think you speak from passion, you're authentic, you're genuine, and you have a great message to share. So anyway, best of luck to you. Thank you so much for being on my show. This has been a good one, and I can't wait to watch more of you as you get going on stage.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back on the Coach Mark Gottfried Show.